Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about CSS filter effects. In our previous tutorial, we had learned about how to blend images. In that essence, we had learned about how to blend between a base color and a particular image, and another thing that we have learned about how to blend between two images. But these things are all based upon some kind of background images. That means in case of blending two images, we have introduced a background image and then we have blended it with respect to another base color or with respect to another image. But in case of CSS filter effects, we need to import our images as an image source, and then we need to create all those CSS filter effects. We need to impose all those filter effects in order to get the desired results. What is the basic difference between a background image and an image source? We can see that in case of our previous tutorial, we had used this particular class here, this image blender, and into this particular div we have imported all those particular images as a background image, and then we have used them against it. That means if we get back to index.html, we can see that this is a div class image blender and there's nothing at all inside it. If we put something like this one, hello world, and if we press Ctrl S and get back to our project and reload, we can see that here comes the text and it is practically imposing on the background image. That means in this particular case the image is acting as a background. But in case when we are using a particular image as an image source here, it is practically a different image tag that we will be using, something like this one. This is an image tag, and if we bring on an image here for say this one, we need to provide an alt tag. So this is an alt tag that will be acting as a placeholder. In case if your image doesn't load into the user's machine, the text which is attributed against this alt tag, that will be shown in that particular case. So we are providing this alt tag here as nature, and then we are providing a title tag here which will be terming as nature. And another thing, this image source, this image tag, it is practically an open tag or empty tag. That means it has a definite starting but it has no ending, something like this one. As we have seen in our previous cases, it doesn't end like this, but instead, it doesn't end like this one, but instead it ends as it is been shown over here. So this is the first point, that in case of background image we need to rely on div, and there's no additional modification we have to make in our main HTML page. But in case of an image source, we need to provide a separate URL, provide a separate relative path for that particular image, and it should be called into our main .html page. In the second case, if we look into stylesheet.css, it practically relies on the div, and that is why it practically depends on the available height of that particular div. No positive dimension specification can be made in case of a background image. That means we have to provide additional height or additional padding thing in order to make a particular image visible into that particular div. But in case of a particular image source, we need to provide a particular image into our index.html or any HTML page, and that is why we can mention a particular dimension into that particular div element. That means we can specify a particular dimension to that particular image whenever you may apply it. You can provide it over here, such as this one. If we provide here this particular width attribute, or if we provide here a particular height attribute, anything can be attributed in the index.html page. It is possible both over here, or instead we may get back to stylesheet.css and we may specify it over here. Both of them will be discussed, but first of all we need to do, we need to press Ctrl S and get back to our project and reload, and we can see that the image source is right now present into our HTML page, but it is far way wider than the browser itself. So why it is? Let's try to find out this problem into our image source. We can see actually that this is the image source. This is the nature.jpg, and if we hover our mouse over here, we can see that this is the dimension of 1920 by 1080 pixels. That means this image is practically 1920 pixels wider and 1080 pixels in height. And we never mentioned any kind of dimension over here, so that is why we will be getting this kind of output. But if we want to restrict this particular image into a particular definition, then all we need to do, we need to get back to our project, and here either in this index.html where we are currently working, we can specify this particular width to be of 1000 pixels, and the height, it should be restricted within 500 pixels. Now if we press Ctrl S and get back to our project and reload, we can see that 1000 pixels is the width, which is still wider than the mother container that is currently wrapping all the elements inside. So in that particular case, all we need to do, we need to restrict it within this 900 pixels. Reload, and you can see right now that the image is now practically residing into our div element. On the other hand, if we wish that we do not like to provide any kind of dimension specification into this particular index.html, instead all we can do, we can get back to stylesheet.css. First of all, reload, and you can see that the image is restored its original dimension, its original width and height into this image holder. All we are going to do, we will be creating this particular syntax over here, it practically representing that the image tag which is present inside this particular selector name image holder, it will be having these following properties, such as it will be having a width of 900 pixels, it will be having a height of auto, it will be floating. Now you may keep it float towards the left side or the right side, or you may choose this particular none. So if we choose none, and up to this, if we get back to our project and reload, we can see that this will be the result. That means we can customize an image source both in .html page and in case of a CSS page. If we do not wish to provide any kind of margin over here, then let's get back to our image holder, this main parent div over here, and here we can provide the text alignment which should be center. Get back to your project, reload, and you can see now that the image is actually residing into the central position. So these are the 2 points that we need to know, the basic difference between a particular image source and a particular background image. So in case of background image, we can put an image as a background of a particular div element, and in that case it will be relying entirely upon that the properties of that particular div and the height and the width dimensional attributes of that particular div. But in case of an image source, we can define this particular dimension anywhere, either in the index.html page or any kind of HTML page where we are practically using this image, or we can define that particular dimension into the CSS page of that concerning parent div. So this is the thing. In the first case, we have now successfully introduced an image into a particular div element. The next thing is applying some kind of CSS filter effects, such as this contrast, hue, rotation, saturate, or sepia tone, or just adjusting the brightness or lightness.